Carmen Lewis walked into the luxury car dealership that afternoon, fully expecting a smooth and enjoyable experience as she set out to purchase the SUV she had long dreamed of. Instead, what she encountered was something all too familiar, a bias that reared its ugly head before she could even properly begin her search. It was a crisp Saturday afternoon, and the sleek glass windows of the upscale dealership sparkled brilliantly under the golden sunlight. The entire building radiated exclusivity, a place designed for those with deep pockets and refined tastes. But Carmen was unfazed. She belonged here just as much as anyone else. At 35 years old, Carmen was a proud, self-made entrepreneur, a single black mother who had worked tirelessly to build a life of success. She walked toward the entrance with a quiet confidence, her every step echoing determination. Dressed in a fitted blazer, well-tailored jeans, and stylish ankle boots, she carried herself with an effortless grace that turned heads. But she wasn't here to make an impression. No, she was here to finally reward herself for the years of dedication and perseverance. She had done her research. She knew exactly what she wanted. A top-of-the-line luxury SUV, fully loaded with all the premium features. The moment she stepped inside, she felt the shift in the air. Several employees turned to look at her. Some flashed polite smiles, but others exchanged subtle glances that spoke volumes. Doubt, hesitation, a silent, unspoken judgment. And then there was Brad, a middle-aged salesman with neatly combed hair and an air of smug certainty. Brad wasted no time making his move. Before Carmen could even get close to the pristine vehicles on display, he intercepted her with a tight, forced smile. "Ma'am," he greeted, his gaze flicking over her outfit, assessing, evaluating. "I'm guessing you might be looking for something more affordable? Our pre-owned section has some great options that might suit your needs better." His words were polite on the surface, but Carmen could hear it, the unmistakable condescension dripping from every syllable. She arched an eyebrow, unimpressed but not surprised. This wasn't her first time facing something like this. But still, it never ceased to be infuriating. "Actually," she said smoothly, "I'm here for the new SUV models. I'd like to see the ones with a fully loaded package." For a brief second, Brad's confident smile faltered. He blinked, clearly caught off guard, before quickly recovering. "Oh," he chuckled awkwardly. You do realize the price range for those starts at $90,000, right?" Carmen crossed her arms, her expression unwavering. "Yes, I'm well aware." Her tone was firm. She wasn't here to be underestimated. Yet Brad continued, his patronizing smirk barely concealed. "Well, why don't you have a seat while I check with my manager?" He gestured toward the waiting area. "I'm sure we can work out some financing options for you." Carmen exhaled slowly, reining in her growing frustration. She had plenty of experience with this type of treatment, subtle microaggressions, quiet assumptions. And yet, she refused to let it ruin her day. Instead, she took a seat, deciding to play along for now. As she waited, her sharp ears caught a hushed conversation between Brad and another salesman near the counter. Why do they even come into places like this if they can't afford anything? Such a waste of time. Carmen clenched her jaw, her fingers tightening around her phone. She debated getting up, calling him out right then and there. But no, she had a better idea. Instead, she straightened her posture, exuding calm confidence. She wasn't going to lose her composure. But that didn't mean she wouldn't take the opportunity to teach a lesson. 10 minutes passed before Brad reappeared, his fake smile still firmly in place. "So," he began, "would you like me to show you something in a more practical price range?" Carmen stood slowly, a small, knowing smile tugging at the corners of her lips. "No," she said simply. "I'd like to speak to your manager." For the first time, Brad hesitated. His confidence flickered. Well, I can—" "Manager," Carmen repeated, her voice leaving no room for argument. Reluctantly, Brad led her toward a glass office at the back. Moments later, a tall man with a warm, professional demeanor stepped out, extending his hand. "Good afternoon. I'm Mark, the general manager. How can I assist you?" Carmen met his handshake with one of her own, her expression calm but resolute.
Hi, Mark.
I'm here to purchase the new SUV, fully loaded, and I'd like to pay in cash. But before we get to that, I think we need to have a conversation about how I was just treated in your dealership. Brad visibly paled, the color draining from his face. Mark's brows furrowed as he turned sharply toward the now stammering salesman. Cash. Mark repeated, stunned. Carmen reached into her sleek leather wallet, pulling out a platinum credit card and placing it firmly on the counter.
Yes.
I've built a business that allows me to afford the things I want. But instead of being treated like a valued customer today, I was treated like I didn't belong. Now, tell me, do you want my business or not? Mark flushed with embarrassment, immediately launching into an apology. Brad, meanwhile, stood frozen, finally realizing the magnitude of his mistake. He hadn't just underestimated Carmen, he had jeopardized a major sale. As Mark ushered Carmen into his office to finalize the paperwork, she cast one last glance at Brad. Her voice was quiet, yet sharp enough to slice through his pride.
Lesson number 1, she said.
Never judge someone by their appearance. The atmosphere in the dealership shifted dramatically as Carmen followed Mark into his office. The door clicked shut behind them, leaving Brad outside to grapple with his embarrassment. His colleagues threw him sidelong glances, some smirking at his mistake, while others simply shook their heads. He could feel the heat rising to his cheeks. He had messed up badly. Inside the office, Carmen crossed her legs and leaned back in the chair, calm and collected. Mark, on the other hand, was sweating slightly as he scrambled to make amends. Miss Lewis, I can't apologize enough for how you were treated, he said, his voice earnest. It's absolutely unacceptable, and I assure you this is not how we run things here. Carmen raised an eyebrow, her expression measured. I appreciate the apology, Mark, but actions speak louder than words. If this truly isn't how you operate, I'd like to know what you plan to do about it. Mark nodded quickly, jotting down notes on a legal pad. Rest assured, we'll be addressing this immediately. Brad will be required to undergo sensitivity training, and we'll be reviewing all our customer service policies to ensure this doesn't happen again. Your experience has highlighted an issue we need to address, and I'm grateful you brought it to my attention. Carmen nodded slightly, satisfied for the moment.
Good.
Now, about the SUV. I'd like the metallic blue model with all the premium upgrades, leather interior, advanced safety features, and the premium sound system. Can we have it ready by the end of the day? Mark's face lit up, relieved to have a chance to make things right. Absolutely. I'll personally oversee the process and ensure everything is perfect. Thank you for giving us the opportunity to serve you. As Mark worked on the paperwork, Carmen glanced out of the office window and saw Brad pacing near the counter, his shoulders hunched in what looked like a mixture of anxiety and shame. Part of her felt satisfied that he was experiencing the consequences of his actions, but another part of her couldn't help but feel a flicker of pity. She knew what it was like to be judged unfairly, and while Brad's assumptions were wrong, she didn't believe in holding grudges. When the paperwork was finalized, Mark extended his hand. Miss Lewis, it's been a pleasure working with you, and again, I'm deeply sorry for earlier. Carmen shook his hand firmly. Thank you, Mark. I hope this is the start of some meaningful changes here. As she walked out of the office, Carmen noticed Brad standing near the exit, his head bowed slightly. When he saw her approaching, he straightened up, his expression a mixture of regret and awkwardness. Miss Lewis, he started, his voice hesitant. I just wanted to say I'm sorry. I misjudged you, and I was wrong. I shouldn't have treated you that way. Carmen studied him for a moment, her gaze steady, but not unkind. You were wrong, she said evenly. But I hope you've learned something today. Never underestimate people, Brad. You don't know their story, and you don't know what they've worked for. Brad nodded, his face red with shame. I'll do better. I promise. Carmen offered him a small, almost imperceptible nod before walking toward her new SUV, which gleamed in the sunlight. The dealership staff had rolled it to the front, and Mark stood by it, ready to hand her the keys. As Carmen slid into the driver's seat, she couldn't help but smile. This car wasn't just a symbol of her success. It was a reminder of the resilience and strength it had taken to get here. And as she drove away, she hoped that today's events would leave an impact far greater than the sleek vehicle she now called her own. Back in the dealership, Brad sat quietly at his desk, replaying the day's events in his mind. For the first time, he understood the power of humility and the danger of assumptions. Meanwhile, Mark called for an all-staff meeting, determined to use this experience as a catalyst for change. Carmen's story wasn't just about buying a car. It was about breaking stereotypes, challenging biases, and proving that dignity and hard work could silence even the harshest critics. Thank you for watching this story. If it inspired you, please subscribe to our channel.